everyone.
we are.
Here we are.
Hi guys, everybody.
Yeah. So while we are waiting for the people to join us, you guys write in the comments where you're joining us from, which country, which city, so we can see our geography here of people who are following Le Salon de la Musique. Hello,
Let's travel
Yadid.
a little bit.
Yes. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
So today we have your host will be Anna Bulkina, me, myself, and then Francesco Comito, Antonio Comito, and we have,
Hi guys.
let's welcome our
Always
guest,
here.
Peruvian concert pianist, Priscila Navarro. Round of applause for Priscila.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so
So
much for
before
having
we
me.
will jump to questions and conversations with Priscila, let me briefly introduce her to you. So Priscila is a multifaceted artist and musician. So she is from Peru. She won first prizes in many international piano competitions, including the Lee Garretson International Competition in Baltimore and the Beethoven Sonata Competition in Tennessee, and then Imola City Awards in Italy, and then Heida Ehrman's International Music Competition in Connecticut. Priscila made her Carnegie Hall solo recital debut in 2013. And then she returned to Carnegie Hall twice last year, right? So she received a special Bach Prize at International City of Vigo competition in Spain. And then she was streamed during her performances in competitions. She was streamed on BBC Public Radio as well as the Medici TV channel. And most recently in 2022, she received the Christa Marshall Bach Foundation Prize in Leipzig Bach competition. Priscila is a champion and advocate of Latin American music, conducting research and creative activities to further the propagation of Latin American art. And her most recent project included the development of piano method for children based on Peruvian folk tunes. Also, Priscila is one of the faculty member at Florida Gulf Coast University. And she's also are you a founder of the Parnassus Society, or you're on the board of founders there?
Yes, I'm one of the founders and the artistic director.
Okay, so that is the music society that that organizes the annual festival and competition in Peru, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so let's jump in immediately to your Latin American activities, let's say. So the project with the Latin American composers and the Parnassus Society. Can you explore more into these topics, please?
Yeah, sure. So the Parnassus Music Society was an initiative that I had along with several other musicians or people related to music in Peru. And our aim really, there are many objectives, but one of them is organizing high quality music events that reach all of Peru. So Peru is very centralized. Lima actually gets many artists. We had Yuja Wang, Andres Schiff, a lot of really famous people come to Lima, but the provinces don't often get as many concerts. So that was one of our initiatives. And the other was also to promote young musicians from Peru and from Latin America. So we organized last year the first international course of piano performance and pedagogy. And we had Kevin Kenner come, and he gave a concert, Chopin First Concerto with quintet. And he also gave a solo recital. And he taught 12 Latin American pianists for a whole week.
Wow.
So it was really, we want to provide opportunities for Latin American pianists as well as learning opportunities, not just performance, And before that, we also organized a competition, which I know is not necessarily the best route, but in this case, as a result of the competition, many of the students got scholarships to study professionally in the US. And one of them got a scholarship to the Chopin Institute at Miami, run by Kevin Kenner. So it really gave them opportunities to grow and also to be exposed. And I wanted to have, an opportunity for Latin American pianists, because there are like Chopin competitions in many countries for the people of those countries. And there aren't many opportunities like that for Peruvian pianists or Latin American pianists. So that's kind of the story with the Parnassus Music Society. Just recently, this December, we did a tour with me and Michael Barron, who is my duet partner and also a teacher here at FGCU. We actually recorded our first commercial album 2 years ago. And we had our Carnegie premiere. That was one of the Carnegie concerts in March of 2022. And so as a way of promoting the city and also of reaching 5 different cities in Peru, the Parnassus Music Society worked with several universities as well as cultural institutions to organize concerts throughout Peru. So we actually played in the Amazon of Peru, in one city in the Amazon. We played in the Andes of Peru, actually in my hometown. And we played, of course, in Lima and in another city in the coast. And it was really successful. I don't know if you've heard that Peru is currently in a lot of political unrest. So it was very important for us and for me to still organize these cultural events, because I think it speaks to our humanity and our capacity to conquer under difficult situations. So yeah, and we have new plans for this year. We have different artists come to continue giving master classes. We're organizing the international course for pianists and other possible projects.
I see.
Yeah, it's great, really. And I think it adds so much value, in general, for society. And I think it's a great project, and really, you are enriching your environment with these kind of initiatives. Really great.
I think at least for me, it was a big learning experience, because I've always been the pianist who just gets called to perform, and to actually organize and put on events, and especially in a country like Peru, it showed me how extremely difficult it is, and yet how important it is, because so often when we just rely on other people organizing events, we rely on their judgment, their artistic judgment of who to call. And that is very limiting, because as I know you guys have this philosophy too, that we get a lot of the same artists everywhere, and that is not good for art or for artists, because we want to have the variety. So my response to that was kind of doing this, and I realized that performing was probably the easiest part of all the other things that we had to do. And I'm really thankful that I found people with a similar philosophy in Peru, that we're able to do, like, actually get things to be done, as opposed to just thinking about them. So
I'm very curious about it. We know each other for since Imola's years in academy. I am so curious about it. How was your experience in diving in the out of your comfort zone in the managing staffs or organization staffs? How was your experience?
Oh, well, I think it was mostly a learning experience. it is very gratifying when you actually get to do the concert. Like last year, we had so many issues putting up the concert for Kevin Kenner in Peru. Everything from finding an appropriate piano, because Peru is not full of Steinways like the US or here, our school, so we struggled a lot. Everything from the site for ticket sales, it was showing the wrong prices and it was malfunctioning. So, and all throughout we kept thinking, like, should we just cancel, should we just postpone? But then at the end, when I actually saw the event and I saw, like, we were able to bring Kevin Kenner, who had actually never performed in Peru or even really in South America, and to bring this event for people. And he played his own arrangement of the Chopin concerto for quintet, and it was kind of the premiere of this version, and the pianists were all just mesmerized. And he's such a unique artist, Chopin concerti, like, we can hear them any day, everybody plays Chopin concerti, but to have like your own interpretation like he did, and then I realized, like, it was totally worth it. It was totally worth all the effort. So I think that, for me, it's just, particularly with my country, I think there are specific difficulties that happen there, because I've seen people organize concerts here and it's a very different experience. I'm sure still difficult, but I just realized, for me, because I do have some artistic ideal and some just human ideal of what I want to do with my life, it is still worth it. Even though I many times think, oh, I shouldn't really do this, I shouldn't really need to do this. But when I see the benefits that it has, that it brings to people's lives, musicians and non-musicians, I realize that I have to keep going.
Yeah, that's very inspiring. I have a question for you. With all these activities, you have to teach, and then you have to, practice the new repertoire, because you have that project with Latin American music. I believe, like, you've never played these pieces before, so you have to learn them from the scratch, right? Also from also these managing activities, when you need to contact people, negotiate with them, like exchange emails constantly, always be available to reply on, like, immediately, or like in a short amount of time, so you don't make the process longer, and so you don't kind of slowing down the process. So between all these different types of activities, like, how do you manage your time?
It's actually something that I've been thinking a lot about, because when I was 18, 16, you just think, like, oh, I want to be a musician, and you don't think about, like, the working hours or the pay or the benefits, or the working conditions in general. And then when I graduated finally from my doctorate, I realized I need to think about these things. And that's when I realized we really never stop. We really never stop working. So there are never, like, vacations. Yes, there are, but oftentimes, like, most of the time I travel, it's for music things. And I've more recently, I've learned to take breaks and to kind of respect my body, because there are limits to all of us. But what I find is that even when I'm working, like, most of it is things that make me happy. And that's what really matters. So, like, even now during winter break, most people kind of logged off and just did nothing for 3 weeks. And we were organizing a tour in Peru in the middle of, like, protests and really, like, dangerous political conditions, and still we were able to bring about the concerts and master classes and everything. And then New Year came, and I had to prepare for this list concert that I just gave 2 nights ago, and I had to make the syllabi for my classes and come back and kind of get set up for the next semester. So, it's kind of like it just always keeps going. I tell my friends it's like having 3 or 4 different jobs that you have to keep up at the same time. And I think that as long as you are, aware of your health and always make sure that you're getting enough rest and all those things, the good thing about being a musician is that we love to do what we do. So even though it's work, it doesn't always feel like work. And even the things that we don't enjoy doing, like you said, like responding to 10,000 emails and dealing with problems everywhere that, oh, the programs didn't get printed, or we need to change this or that, or, oh, we had a cancellation of a hall in Peru and we had to find a new hall, and how to get the piano, get movers, and all those things. Even that, and in the moment of the concert, it all makes sense. It makes it worth it.
Priscila, can I ask you one question? Just a second. You are talking now about all these skills that an entrepreneur should have. I mean, basically, this is what we are talking about. Many musicians, they say I want to do what I like. I want to do what is my passion. I want just to play the piano. But after years of studying in university, colleges, academies, etc., they realize that there is a wall in front of them. And this wall is that to make your dreams come true, you need to do certain things. And these certain things, managing, organizing, communicating with others, selling, all these skills are not taught in schools. And basically these are, this is something so important for a musician. And how did you learn how to do all of this? Just by doing it, or were you looking, for example, in the internet, reading some books? How did you do it?
We have a saying, well, not a saying, but a character in Mexican series that says, we learn by ruining things. Mm-hmm. So basically you just go and do, and you mess up, and maybe you mess up badly, and then next time you learn a little bit better. I have to admit, for myself, I actually, in my undergrad, I did a minor in business because I knew I eventually would need some kind of business skills. So I got that. I don't know how much that helped me, but I do know that at least like going to the classes and seeing how people in business actually think and how different they are from most of musicians, that was very beneficial to me. I agree with you 100% because especially I feel like recently the music world has totally revolutionized. I mean, just from the fact of YouTube and the fact that you could make a career on YouTube, that is so different from what our teachers experienced. I don't know, whenever they went to school. So that's why they can't always like teach us everything that we have to deal with, because it's a different world, and technology really has changed so much. And also for me, like, I don't particularly enjoy doing a lot of those things. I don't enjoy putting myself out there. I don't enjoy bragging about what I do, and thinking of my art as a product that has to be sold. But reality is that that's the way it works, and whether we like it or not, it is the way it's going to be. So we can either reject that, or we can embrace that and try to do. I'm not, I don't consider myself an example necessarily of that. I do what I can, and I try to get concerts, send my applications, send my I have a website, I have recordings and those kinds of things. I don't spend all my time doing that, but I do know it's important, so I have it there. And then as far as organizing, like, I knew if I want to bring the artists that I like, and if I want to create those opportunities, I'm gonna have to put on the concert myself. So that's how I started doing that. And I was lucky. I have a team of people. It's not just me. That's the other thing. I have a team of people who think similarly and put in time and money and effort and everything to make it happen. And that's the other thing we haven't even talked about, like economic results. That's, we always think about the music and we think about this, but music is a business just like everything else. And organizations want to sell tickets. So if they want to hire you for a concert, they're going to want to know that they can sell you. And so, yeah, I think, a lot of my friends, they finished doctorates and they've gone on to do something entirely other, or they've, pretty much just play for fun and play for their family and have like a small private studio, which is absolutely fine if that's what you want to do. And what I tell people is, you have to know that this is the world. Unless you are extremely lucky and you have like the best connections and you just get a management contract right at when you're 21, unless that happens, which is very rare, you're gonna have to navigate this, and you're gonna have to do things that you don't like. And if you don't want to do it, then this is probably not going to be a good career path for you, because you're just going to struggle and be unhappy. And that's the other thing that I always tell myself, I'm doing this while I'm happy, and I have to do things to be happy. And that's what it is. But if I find myself where I'm like constantly frustrated, I can't keep going like that, So that's what at least I encourage people to think of that, because otherwise I think a lot of pianists are disappointed when they graduate and have to deal with real world.
Priscila, you were saying something very, very important. You say, I have a team that is working with me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us something? Can you tell us more about the power of the team? Because everybody has $1 million idea, everybody, but not everybody can make it real. So to make it real, you need a team of people that work for you. They work with you, but the problem is how to convince those people to believe in your dreams. It's like you were saying something very beautiful about the fact that we don't even think about the money. So they are not working for the money, but they're working for an idea. It's like Marine Corps. They accept the possibility to be killed for work because they believe in an idea that is bigger than them. So they want to be part of something. So how important is the mission that you have, and the way how you communicate this mission to other people in order to have them to be part of your team and make it real, your idea?
Oh, well, it's extremely important. So we actually, at Parnassus, we do have a mission, we have a statement, and we have, all those things, because otherwise, like you said, there's no way that anybody will put in that much time, that much work, without really having at least immediate economic return, right? Because we do have to think about economy. We can't just spend money, and we have to think of how eventually things will turn out, and that's a big part. Managing the economic side is important, but like you said, that's not the main motivation for everyone involved. Otherwise they would do something else. Otherwise we would put on rap concerts or some other type of music concert that actually gives immediate return, as opposed to classical music, which is often an inversion into future return on everything. So I think I know for myself, I can be a difficult person to work with because I have such high standards. And I always remind people, like, I'm the harshest on myself. So it's not that I'm like, mean to people, but I do know, like, I want things to work out. So, but I consider myself lucky that I found people who believe in what I believe and who are willing to work towards those objectives and to put on, time, effort, and money into these things, which is otherwise it's impossible. And yes,
Also,
we are always
Priscilla,
looking for sponsors and things like that, but we need the team that make things work. And I know for myself, like you said, it would be impossible. I would never have done anything if I hadn't found a team.
but
I mean, I
Priscilla,
can get invited to things, but nothing of my own initiative. And it's so good when you have something that it's yours, like 100% yours and your teams, and nobody can stop that.
absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, Priscilla, because you said something that is so interesting, and it's so true. Like, you are a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
We know that as classical musicians, we deal with perfectionism 12 hours per day, 24 hours per day, let's say. But when you must manage a business, when you have to run a business, there is the better done than perfect strategy. You have to keep up with, the evolution of the business. You have to organize, you have to go further. Sometimes perfectionism can stop you.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think about integrating perfectionism as a classical musician skills into the running of the business activity?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that can be a great tool, that can be a real superpower, but can sometimes stops you. You have to find your balance. You have to understand how to leverage perfectionism.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think even when we practice, like, there isn't really perfect. And I think the first thing to realize is that we don't want necessarily perfect. We want real, right? Because perfect a lot of times is
Sincere.
not real, is not
Exactly.
possible. So, and especially in business and organizing, like, it has to happen. It has to happen the best possible way that we can manage. And there are things that are out of our control. And so the best thing is to how we react to those things, and the most practical way of doing things. Because also in a team, one of the things about having a team is that everybody has a different opinion, and everybody has so you can't just have my way or the highway. We have a rule that in our team we have to convince the rest of the team. It's not just voting, majority vote, because if someone is like entirely unhappy with the decision, it's not good for the team. So we have to explain our arguments towards why we decide something. And I think there's sometimes you just have to say, well, you're not happy with this, but we have to do it because otherwise it doesn't get done. So
how many members do you have in your team?
4.
Oh,
it's important to have a code of honor, like you said. There must be some rule in a team to protect. For example, if I put the rule, it's not because I want to oblige somebody else to do something. It's because I want to protect the business or the group from myself. But I'd say it's correct. So to protect, because I can also make mistakes. So the rules that you decide are so very important. And also, you said before, Priscilla, about the fact that there are some things that I don't like to do it. But I know that are important. Having a team, everybody has his superpower. So the power of the team, everybody can give his support to make things happen. The problem of the educational system is that we always been taught how to work alone. You did this by yourself, bravo, congratulations. So since we are kids, you did everything by yourself, bravo, instead of cooperating. If you work with others is considered cheating sometimes.
In this way, you are isolating people.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that it often is difficult to do business with musicians, because they don't know how to work with other people. And we
This is so
absolutely
true.
have to learn that. Even people who have managers, like, you have to learn to work with your manager, so much more in a team. Yeah, I think we have a very unrealistic view of, we're going to practice our whole lives and that's all we're going to do. And that is not only not true, and not only not healthy, because also it probably isn't physically possible to just
exactly. Do you know what I want to say? You said before that it's a let's think about that case that you delined before, like the rare case in which you will sign a managing contract at 21 years old. You could be lucky, but actually, if we are thinking that this is a very narrow path, you cannot expand your creativity. It's a path designed by others' interests. It's not your real manifestation of your creativity. You are just a soldier, let's say, in the scheme of things, in the fabric of reality.
I think that people find ways of finding that freedom, because, of course, if you do that, your repertoire is very limited. Your capacity for choice oftentimes is very limited, and even your schedule is determined by someone else. But people, there are some ways of finding options to do that.
But because I think that we had been taught that that is the dream, but actually this is not the dream. I think the dream is what you are doing now, because you are leveraging your creativity to expand yourself and to expand your environment, to add value to your society, to create something that is your project, your own creativity's manifestation. I mean, this is your personal print. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that, to me, oftentimes I think, oh, I maybe should do something else, so I should, look for something a little bit easier. But precisely because of what you said, that it's what I have to add to the universe's storage of creative activities. It's my contribution to that, and because of that, I continue to do it. But otherwise,
this is fantastic what you said, like the universe storage. This is true. It's like everybody is adding to this big universal wallet, let's say. Like, it's fantastic. Yeah.
So, just a second. So, Priscila, what you are saying is very, very, very important in one side, moving on another side, because talking with you, I realized that even if the educational system is not, helping musicians to find their way, there are musicians like you that they find their way. They know that there is something somehow wrong, and so we need to do something. We need to go out of our comfort zone. But there are some musicians, there are some colleagues, there are some friends that they are somehow afraid of learning new skills. They are afraid of they said, I did this for the entire life. For my entire life, I was only playing the piano, not thinking about anything else. And now, for example, I'm 30 years old with a very not sustainable job. For example, that is not with not very big salary. For example, I want to have a family. I don't have a career, and so my life is ruined. So they have this kind of mental block, this cage, and they don't want to open. What do you think about this psychological aspect? Do you think it's possible to open the door of this cage and
Escape
or
the matrix.
a little bit to rephrase that question, because it is of course possible to open that cage, but first of all, like how to make these musicians to be aware that they are inside the cage. That is the first thing. And second, how to convince or how to make them believe that it is, that cage is not the whole universe.
Exactly. Like in Matrix, a red pill or blue pill.
Yeah.
I think what I find, especially like working with a lot of young students, I mean like undergraduate students, I think that a lot of times people don't even want to hear that.
Yeah.
Because while you're going to a school, you just want to practice, you just want to get to play your favorite piece, and you don't even care. And I think that is the first mistake. Unfortunately, that is also one of the hallmarks of just being young, is that you don't necessarily think of the future, right? And so I really try to encourage students of thinking about their personality, because one of the main things that gets missed in general music education, especially college music education, is just being good and not being you, and finding your
great.
your own voice is very important. And that honestly, I have to say, I had a teacher, Santiago Rodriguez was his name, and he really made me aware of the importance of finding who I am and playing what I want, because I was also going to competitions, and I was you have to think about what repertoire people want to hear and what repertoire will make you win and all those things. And he always told me, like, yeah, you can play everything, but what are you actually going to contribute? We don't want to hear, say, Chopin ballade for the 50th time. If I already have a favorite version of this Chopin ballade, why am I even going to play it unless I have something new to add to that? But there are pieces that I don't have a favorite version, like Bach. A lot of Bach, I have this ideal that I want to do that nobody does the way I want to do it. And that is why I should play that piece. So I encourage students to really think about those things. Of course, you have to already be good at piano, and there's the piano side of things, but the artistic side of contributing to music and doing music because you're giving to people and you're given to music. And that's another thing that is very wrong with so many people. I hear young pianists say, like, oh, I want to be the best pianist in the world, or like, oh, I want to fill stadiums with people listening to me play. And when I hear that, I just think that is so the wrong objective to do music, because if that's why you want to do music, you're doing music for yourself and not for others. And
this is a manifestation of your ego.
Exactly. Then I don't really, first of all, I don't want to teach you, and I don't even want to go necessarily hear you, because that really comes off, And when I think of music, I think of it as a service. Like we say people in health business are doing a service to other people. We are doing the same thing. We're doing a service to humanity. Even Beethoven, with his big ego, knew that he was doing a service to humanity. And so I try to make students aware of that. And I think that once they realize that, then maybe they have a chance at understanding what they need to do in order to have that career that is satisfying for them. Otherwise they just want to practice, they just want to play Rachmaninoff third at the fastest speed, or they just want to
but Priscila, what you say, it's fantastic. I mean, really, I agree with you 3,000%. Absolutely. I want to ask one question to you. You said that I feel Bach in a certain way, and so I have my idea. I believe that I can play this piece differently. I can really add something. But let's say that you have to convince somebody that is not a musician, is a businessman that needs to sell tickets, etc. That is that likes classical music but really cannot deeply understand
Perceive these differences.
what you think. How would you convince this person to hire you for a concert, to sponsor you, to invest in your project? This is a skill that can be learned, but first of all, not every musician, I must say, most of them, they don't know that this is a skill that you can learn. And second of all, they don't think it's useful. They don't need to do it. They don't need to learn how to persuade, not only persuade and convince, but also to close the deal. So to have an exchange for some, exchange of values.
Win relationship.
Yes. What do you think about this? Everybody can say, I feel different. The music, my
This is a
interpretation.
good exercise.
But
Okay.
practically, how to sell your music to the artistic director?
In business there is the elevator pitch, the 5-minute pitch. In 5 minutes you have to convince your investor or your sponsor that you are worthy the investment and how you will return the investment back. We have to do in Le Salon de la Musique, we have to create a space in which we are, allowing people to have their 5 minutes elevator pitch. Okay.
TED Talk, SM Talk.
No, absolutely.
Like, guys, Shark Tank.
Yes,
absolutely.
I love Shark Tank. I actually watched a lot of the little clips. No, I think, well, first of all, the first thing is that musicians often don't think that they need to communicate. They often think that it's okay to just come and play and that is enough. And that is absolutely not true, especially today, because the general classical public is smaller and less relevant to general economics than it ever was. I mean, when Van Cliburn was alive, everybody knew who he was. Everybody in the United States, he was like a kind of personality of the Hollywood world.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is no longer true today. And so we have a bigger job of convincing not only the people who are organizing the concerts, but the people who are coming to the concerts that this is a worthwhile activity and that they need to come back for a second concert. And so the first thing for me is that students need to be able to speak to audiences, to sponsors, to colleagues. They need to be able to speak about the music. They need to be able to put into words why they play the piece that they do and why they like the piece and what makes it worthwhile. So the idea of the lecture recital, I think we should no longer divide between recital and lecture recital. It should just be, and there is a whole book about that, a musical experience. Anything that you can do to enhance the musical experience is acceptable and encouraged. So first of all, and to be even just that is like almost impossible for some students, really, because they oftentimes they don't even know why they're playing the piece. I give master classes and like, what is so interesting about Waldstein Sonata? No clue. Why is this piece considered like major work, or like Debussy, the Prelude at the Afternoon of a Faun? Why is this a landmark? Why did this revolutionize music? And if we don't know that as musicians, then what are we even doing? Like, it's like a doctor that doesn't know where the organs are, or that doesn't know
exactly
the body. We need to know why we do what we do, and then we need to communicate that to an audience, and that absolutely can be learned. And I think from that stems being able to convince organizers and write a good bio, get grants, all those things. And eventually you have to play the game. I mean, I know that I get called sometimes for Latin American things because I'm Latin American, and people, you can argue against that, but I actually do think that I play some Latin American music better than people who are not Latin American. But that is not even relevant to the fact that it's easier to sell me for Latin American things. I mean, I literally had a producer tell me, like, your Bach is beautiful, your classical Mozart, whatever, it's great, but it's easier to sell you for Albanese. So you should focus on that. And the thing is, I actually do love Albanese, and I think I have an interpretation to contribute. So I play that too. And I think there's, a lot more to explore there. But you have to be willing to just do what the opportunities that you get. Oftentimes, and people think that you have, your repertoire that you learn for the semester, and that's all you're ever going to play. And that is not true at all. You have to be entirely flexible if you want to succeed. Just like Shark Tank, you have to be willing to negotiate.
Exactly. This is an idea. Francesco and Anna.
Antonio, just a second. Can we thank, please, Maria Rosa? Because Maria Rosa just gave us 174 stars. Thank you so much, Maria.
No, we also wanted to say, guys, for some reason on our screen, we don't see all the comments or questions you post on different platforms where we're streaming at the moment. So I don't know what is happening, but we apologize that we cannot properly reply you, but we will then check all our places where we're streaming right now, and we will reply all the comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the stars. Thank you so much. Your support is very, very
appreciated.
Very appreciated, and it's super important to help.
It's vital because the Salon de la Musique exists just thanks to you guys. Our community, it's something that we had created since, the beginning. And we create this so close connection with our followers, our community. It's fantastic to have this kind of connection with the audience, and this kind of connection also with friends like you, Priscila, And I remember in Imola, in the student house, it was a fantastic period, and
yeah, no, for me, it was one of my favorite memories. I always wanted my Europe experience. Yeah. And I finally got that there to whatever degree that was possible. I did come back to the US for college, but no, I have such great, inspiring memories from being there. And I think it really affected who I am as an artist and as a person.
Yeah.
Oh, this lady, Maria Rosa, she said, I am a Peruvian like Priscila. So
very nice. Yes, I think I do know her actually from my page. So thank you for joining, Maria Rosa.
So you were talking about this Shark Tank.
Yeah. I wanted to say, guys, let's think about this. I know it's a great format. We have to create a Shark Tank for musicians.
Absolutely.
They have to. It's a sort of showcase for musicians that they have to present their project, and they have to convince with a 5-minute elevator pitch that their project is worthy and why.
Absolutely.
This is fantastic. 5 points.
Absolutely agree. There is one thing that I would like to add what Priscila was saying before. She was saying about you have to learn how to communicate, but also think about Shark Tanks. You have to learn how to handle objections.
Yeah.
Because if you know how to present, but you don't know how to close the deal, it's like you waste your time. But how to handle objections? If somebody tells me we don't have enough money, for example, the artistic director, or I mean the owner of the music label, etc. We don't have enough money. This project is not going to sell, or I need to talk with our team, or any kind of objection. How to handle these objections? I don't know. why. So how to solve
There
this
are
problem?
techniques.
There are techniques. It's like playing chess. There are, the chess player, the master of chess. They don't think actually what they are doing. They were studying what other masters during the history they were doing. So in this particular situation, the best possible move is to put the knight here or the bishop here. So you don't need to think. There are other people that were thinking for you. So now the same thing is in selling, is handling objection. They salespeople, they found that in this particular situation, with this particular objection, the best way to handle it is to say this thing, is to say that. And after you become creative in handling objections, it's like cooking. In cooking, you read the recipe. You have to put flour for a cake, flour, eggs, milk, etc. At the beginning, you constantly look to this recipe and you are very slow in preparing. But at the end, imagine you have a restaurant, you do this for 30 years. Dun, 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 1, 2, 3, cooked, ready. The same thing is in selling. How to do this? Rehearse, practice, talk with your colleagues, try to present your project and make the other, your friend, to make an objection. And try to.
This is a great idea. We can do it in the Salon de la Musique. Why we are not organizing like a sort of simulations in which
also what you say, Antonia, it's very important. Simulation.
One second, like we can create battles between two.
Like a dojo for dojo martial arts.
Exactly, and we are creating this kind of simulation in which we are handling objections. This can be, I think, fun.
Absolutely.
First of all, and can be enriching, for us and for the others too. No.
Absolutely, but what you say, Antonio, it's very important. It's crucial. You say we can try to simulate. The problem of the experience is that when you try, you make mistake, as you said, Priscilla. First you mess up, and after you learn. But in this way, you learn maybe when it's too late. So the power of rehearsing, put yourself in this situation. Instead of waiting for this situation to happen, put yourself in the hardest situation possible and try to handle. Do this every day. I think it's a great thing about
training.
About this idea. So let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah, why not? We have part-time competitions and selling simulations. Priscilla, please, can you repeat that sentence that you said? We are learning by ruining things.
Yes.
I have to.
It's kind of like a joke. It's meant to be a joke, but it's very much true in that you can study something and you don't really know until you actually do it, right? And you learn by making mistakes and
learning by doing.
But for me, it was especially true in teaching. Because I studied a lot of teaching. I studied pedagogy. I did a lot of research. I did a cognitive music education. And of course, the American philosophy of music education is very specific to the way we teach in the United States. So anyways, I did all that. But then actually, when you actually teach, I was still terrified of having to teach, like, especially a large group of students. And I found that as I did it, I got very comfortable with it, and it wasn't at all what I was expecting. So,
me too. When I'm teaching like a big group of people, it's actually easier for me than teach like one-to-one lesson, because I don't have to address to one person. I'm kind of generalize things. Well, sometimes there are some troublesome, students, but I also learn how to manage them as well. So
you kind of get your own system, of dealing with a lot of different situations. Like Francesco said, you use your past knowledge, so that not everything you do you're like thinking in the moment, but you're reflecting on how you dealt with something. And the same with private lessons. Actually, last semester I had a lot of students in Miami, and so I encountered like all kinds of scenarios. I mean, from 4-year-olds to teenagers to adults. And so that now I feel like I'm kind of shielded and prepared to like deal with almost anything. I don't know if I don't know, I can't say I
You are
can
a
do
shield
it,
maiden.
but I feel like I'm more like well equipped. I'm not, because I used to be very scared of, oh, what if this happens, or what if the student, you know. So now I feel, but because of the experience, right? Without having that experience, I would still wouldn't know, no matter how much I studied.
And what's your opinion? Which is your strongest suit as a teacher? Let's
You would
let's
have
talk
to ask my
about
students. I think that because I do I read a lot of music education things, and the social aspect of music education, basically thinking of the student as a human, as opposed to thinking of the student as a thing that you fill with knowledge, which is a lot of how teachers
Some teacher, they think about something that you have to squeeze. I mean, not only something that you have to put knowledge, something that you have to take money from. That's another point of view.
Well, that's a whole other topic. But I mean, at least in college, we don't get paid more for some students than for others. It's kind of like, so that whole aspect, I think, has made me I try to be as flexible as possible. I try to really empathize with the student. And like last semester here in college, we had a hurricane that came through Florida. And
I
that
remember.
totally messed up the schedule, totally messed up, people's lives. And so we had to really adapt. And I told my students, like, we have to get the learning objectives. We have to learn what we need to learn, but we're going to do it differently. And I'm willing to, work with you. So I think, at least for me, I think that that's very important. And one of the things that makes me more prepared as a teacher than a lot of other people. I see a lot of teachers that come and they're like, you're gonna do this and you're gonna do this and you're gonna get this done. And I think to myself, like, there's no way these students are going to do that. Like, that is just unrealistic. So I would rather give them smaller objectives that they can actually do, and see them progress by that, than say, like, oh, you're gonna learn all of this and you're gonna read a whole book by 2 weeks. It's not gonna happen. They're not gonna do it. So I would rather give them like something that is more realistic,
also
Doable.
enjoyable. No? Also enjoyable.
Absolutely. I try to make my classes enjoyable. As I said, I don't really know. I mean, from my time in Miami, like, I did actually get to know some of the students, and they told me what they thought about, my teaching. But it's always changing, just like the way you play. The way you play is always changing. The way you teach is also always changing. So
Yeah, this is true. We are organic, like our way of playing is like a living is a living being, no?
yeah, I think if we don't, then that's not a good thing. We should be evolving with with the environment that evolves around us. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Such a great conversation today. I'm so happy. I'm so glad that we had two great conversations in a row. Like yesterday with Sergei Birovsky and today with you, Priscila. We are running out of time, so thank you very much for coming today and to share your experience and ideas, thoughts. and
We
your
enjoyed
love
so
for
much.
music and for the arts, and for your contribution to our field. And we hope we will see you in our next editions of Meet the Artist or the community call. So let's plan for that. Any new projects that you have, please know that here you have the whole platform that is waiting for your news and would like to to be updated on your activities.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
so much. I wanted to say how much I appreciate, especially feeling connected, to people who are doing something similar, because a lot of times you can start feeling like, oh, I'm the only one that's
Yeah.
doing this, or it's so hard, because even though we are a team, oftentimes we are lonely
Yeah.
people working, so many different things at the same time. So it's great to have a community like you guys have here at the
A
Salon,
network.
Yeah.
that you feel is encouraging you from far
Yeah.
away. So
And you
yes,
have to know you have an home here at La Salon de la Musique. That
Absolutely.
Yeah.
when you want.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
So before we close, a word from our sponsor.